Starmer hails new era of UK-EU relations as Bootneck says deal's taking us backwards. It's not taking us backwards, it's taking us back in, and she knows this. In fact, have we ever really left? Because it doesn't feel like it, does it? I think the globalist sociopaths that run the world think the general public are stupid, so we'll just tell them the left and we'll change the colour of the passports and that'll do it. We'll make them queue a bit longer at the airports and they'll be convinced they've left. Meanwhile, European fishermen are still plundering the British seas, and apparently as part of this deal, they've just extended the temporary measures that Johnson imposed by 12 more years. But you know what? I'm not going to dig into the weeds massively on this main story. Obviously, we'll go through it. But I'm not too interested in the individual little niche points of this dog toffee deal, because it's irrelevant to me. It's just more evidence that we didn't leave in the first place. But I want to focus on the fact that the scum that lord it over us brazenly tweet things like this out. Lord Sugar, I am pleased to hear Prime Minister Starmer has done some sort of deal with the EU. What he needs to do is reinstate free circulation of goods. So many small companies who have stuff made in China pay UK duties if they want to export them to their EU customers. It attracts more duties. Please, Keir, try to rejoin the EU. So that's what he needs to do, eh? That's what he needs to do. Just ignore 18 million people. I'll tell you what you need to do, Lord Sugar. You need to hire an orthopaedic surgeon to help remove my foot from your arsehole. Okay, this tweet made me angrier than the story. This is emblematic of what the problem is. I'm going to rant about this and then I will briefly cover the story, but this really angers me, right? So ultimately, the only reason we started doing democracy, right? The only possible reason we stopped lining up on a big field and stabbing each other to death until one side could claim victory was because they managed to talk us in to this deal whereby people who genuinely hate each other, and let's not beat around the bush, this is dissolved. We've gone way past polite disagreement, okay? The MAGA crowd in America don't merely slightly disagree with the woke crowd. They hate each other, and for good reason. Why should we pretend anything else? Ultimately, this is a global fight. It's not even right versus left anymore. It's not a thing. It's nationalists versus globalists all around the world. And people like me think that a nation like, I'll even pick one I don't have a real affinity with, like Scotland, alright? I'm not Scottish. Yes, geographically I'm somewhat near them, or the town of my birth was, but I loved all of the jocks versus the Geordies stuff. I love having a strong rivalry with our northern neighbours. But you know what? I think Scotland is a precious gem. I think the nation of Scotland, despite all the smackheads and the morbidly obese women, because I've never walked more than 2 minutes in Scotland without bumping into a woman with a head like a recycling bin and an arse like the back end of a bus, alright? There's many things wrong with Scotland. They deep fry Mars bars, they drink Buckfast, and they've got chips on both shoulders, but it's a precious gem. The nation of Scotland, to me, is as precious as a panda or a sloth or some other pointless animal that we refuse to let die. Because that's the world we live in, right? We obsess over a panda to the point where we'll tug it off and show it panda porn in order to get it to reproduce. But when something like Scotland evolves in the world with its own unique culture and heritage, you know, men wearing skirts and then leaping onto the first train south and collapsing in the gutter drunk, hoping that an English woman will sit on their erection, right? With all that going on, it is unique. It's its own thing. My version of hell is jumping in a time machine and jumping out in the year 2300 and finding the entire planet is just one gigantic shit country. And this is the plan that the globalist monomaniacal psychopaths have for us all. Japan's another place I've spent a lot of time. It's fantastic, Japan. You go there and it's different, and it's the different that you find interesting. And you walk around the shrines and you pat the deer's heads because they're all wandering the streets in some of them little places. You go to places like Kyoto and Hiroshima, and it's different and new, and you go, wow, this is good. And the idea that in another 100 years or something, every single person in the whole world's just going to be beige, wear the same clothes, eat the same food, wear the same brands, know the same bands, do the same everything all the time in identical buildings. That's what they want. Because the sort of future dystopias that you see on The Matrix and The Fifth Element and all of that bollocks, that's basically what it's going to look like if this carries on. Okay, that's why I'm a nationalist, for no other reason. The idea that it's hateful is ludicrous. I want to protect these places. I want Japan to be as Japanese in the year 2100 as it was in 1970. And I want the same for Scotland and Wales and Somalia and anywhere else. It's not because you don't like people, it's because you want to conserve what has previously existed. That's it. And what point am I making with this rambling tirade? Well, I'll tell you. People like this dickhead who think 18 million people can vote for something, but the second a lord or a very, very wealthy, well-connected person in the home counties decides that our vote is worthless, then it is, okay? Then what's the point of the aforementioned democracy that you managed to convince us to do? MAGA versus woke, they only got talked into this deal because you said, listen, doing this and maybe having to suck it up that the guy you hate's in charge for 4 years, it's worth it. Because, you know, very shortly after that, someone you like will be able to get in, and then we can all take it in turns. And that's much better than violence. Well, if you're going to totally ignore everything we vote for all the time, you've reneged on your promises to us. You've failed to honour your commitment to this whole project, not the Brexit project or the Trump project or anything else, the entire project of democracy. Because that's what they're doing. When the masses vote for something the scum like, they go, yay, we won the election, yeah, isn't that good? And when the masses vote for something they don't like, they go, no, doesn't count, cancel the candidates in Romania, trump up charges against Salvini, or Le Pen, or anyone else they dislike, lie about Trump, make things up about Russia, pay the civil servants and the intelligence agencies to make fake dossiers, rig elections, ban candidates, jail candidates, ignore elections, pretend you've done Brexit, do the exact opposite. That's what they've done for years. It's not just Brexit and Trump, it's all of the aforementioned European leaders and a dozen other issues besides, all right? That's the crux of the issue. It's not even about Brexit. It's about this. Wankers like this self-serving, slime-sucking shitbag who just go, oh, what do you mean 18 million people voted for it and easily won a referendum by 1 million votes? Who cares? Just please, Keir, put us back in. Well, I'll tell you what my response to that is. Knobhead, right? My response is, let's just have a full-blown civil war then. Let's just do it. You talked us out of lining up in the big fields and stabbing each other by lying to me about what was going to happen when we voted for things. If every time we vote for something you don't like, you ignore the result of the vote, what's the point in us putting down the spears? What's the point? I say every single county that voted for Brexit just declares independence from the rest of the UK, and let's just have a full-blown civil conflict. I want to line up against Lord Sugar in a big field and see if he's got the actual power of his convictions to meet me head-on in battle. We can do it medieval style to keep the casualties low, and predominantly because shooting people's boring. I'd take much more pleasure in grabbing a Morning Star and wrapping it round Alan Sugar's head 40 times. Be much more enjoyable to me. Anyway, tirade over. Let's just cover the basics of what this deal does, which is essentially taking us back into the European Union we never left because they don't do as they're told. Okay, the lying, scum-sucking rent boy said that it signals a new era in relations after announcing a wide range of agreements on food, fishing, defence and passport checks. Basically, everything that they gave us, which was like 20% of Brexit, they just got rid of it all. On fishing, they're just keeping it as it always was until at least 2038. Brilliant. Love that. Everyone who voted for Brexit will be dead by the time that expires. British holidaymakers will be able to use e-gates when travelling around the... Of course it will. And it'll be easy to trade food across the EU and UK border with a new security pact which will allow Britain to access EU funds for defence development. So we might as well just have an EU army as well, yep. And French generals can feed English privates into the machine guns willy-nilly. Brilliant idea. Love that. Yes, nothing says an independent Britain away from the machinations of the EU more than a German general shoveling 40,000 Tommies into a meat grinder. But that's what's going to happen. Fantastic. But they've changed the colour of your passport, so you got what you wanted, lads, didn't you? No, you don't think you did? No, me either. So that's my argument, and I'm sticking by it. You tell me why all across the free world, well, even that's an oxymoron, isn't it? The places in the world where they call you free, you definitely aren't, okay? And this proves it. Again, it's one of dozens of things that prove it. But in the places that are lied to and called the free world, if they ignore everything you vote for, you tell me why we should continue voting or even accept the status quo. Why? This is why the Americans did well to keep their firearms, because at least in America they have to sex up dossiers and lie and brainwash and indoctrinate and fill the unis and the schools with lunatics and use the Secret Service to try and coax people, because they've got that one trump card, haven't they? Because if they just outright ignore them every time they vote for something, then you'll have 150 million pissed off hillbillies wielding firearms and waving them in the general direction of the people that they don't like very much. But in Europe, you're just totally done. I could point at dozens of significant political figures that have either been banned, silenced or jailed because they've said the wrong thing or the people have voted for the wrong person. And this type of shit is just the cherry on top, to be honest. I don't need this for evidence. It just serves us more. So I think every Brexit voting county would be within the right to stop paying the council tax and declare total independence from the ones that didn't. That's my argument and I'm sticking to it. If you think it's a bad argument, let me know in the comments so I know whose side you're on. And then you can meet me in the pub car park next time I'm home and we'll have it out like gentlemen did 500 years ago, minus the horses. If you have some cutting insights that I've failed to mention here because I was too busy ranting and raving about it, leave them in the comments. I'll read them and I'll talk to you all tomorrow. All right, thanks for tuning in. Toodle pip. Cheers.